Steve is with Infrastructure USA, and he can talk about how the fact that when there's a crisis like the bridge that went down in Minneapolis that killed 13 people, that's when people focus on it. When there's a crisis in the Gulf, we focus on that. And Steve is with Infrastructure USA, which will be doing more work with Balcony in the future.
There's not too much time, so let me be as brief as I can and maybe as pithy as I can about this. If we came home, or our kid came home, with a report card like this, D, C, D, D minus, D plus, D, D, D minus, D minus, C minus, C minus, D minus, D, C plus, D, D, overall grade D, we would say to ourselves, what are we going to do? And this is our report card. And this report card isn't the first report card, it's about the third or the fourth. Quibble if you want whether it should have been a C minus or a D or whatever. Not 1A, not 1B. And we all know now, we've gotten a lot of Fs. I-35W has been mentioned. Let's say Katrina's an exception, and that's not the case. Power failures, steam up in the air, Cedar Rapids, I mean, you can go on and on. There are very few deniers left in the infrastructure issue. We seem to have reached a point where most people who want to talk about this issue do. And that is a crisis I think everyone here has spoken about and agrees. But there is another crisis. And it is something that I, as a communications person, as a filmmaker and a communications specialist, have focused on and tried to raise it. And it's this. There is a communications crisis. We put the wall down between all these infrastructure issues and the general public. It was either too complicated, or it wasn't their issue, or we'll take care of it, or leave it to local authorities, or leave it to people who are elected officials, or you can simply count on it. Flip the switch, the lights will come on, walk outside, there's a road to drive on, you know the routine, okay? And that barrier has stopped civic engagement, citizen engagement on this issue. There are groups, there are wonderful policy groups, policy shops, civic organizations. There's tremendous numbers of authorities that speak to people who are interested in hearing what they have to say. But that number is embarrassingly small, and we are now suffering the consequences of that. We have not gotten to high-speed political will demanding. Okay? That's what we need. We can maybe not create instant funds, but we sure can force people to go to those who are in charge to make some of the tough decisions on where our investments are going to be. InfrastructureUSA.org is a total nonprofit, non-transactional website. We're in the testing phase. In the last several months, 10,000 Americans have 13,000 have popped on, okay, and had something to say. They have found information from all the leading organizations, Regional Plan, Urban Land Institute, Building America's Future, school organizations. We stop at no subject of infrastructure, but obviously transportation runs right through it. And they are engaging. And part of what we have to do has been mentioned in this panel, but we have to engage the public. We have to let them in on what is really going on. Ed Rendell, one of the few major national figures talking about this issue, he says infrastructure isn't sexy. It isn't a sexy word. Well, I think it's plenty sexy when you talk about what's happened and what the consequences are, okay, and what the potential benefits are. So we do polls. Are they scientific? Of course they're not scientific. You can come on the website, but they're just a sentiment of people. So 1/3 of the visits to our website are from the tri-state area. So it shows you, we happen to be based in New York, but there's information about all across the country. So there is interest. It's quite clear. Do you feel the Obama administration is moving quickly enough to address the infrastructure crisis? 74% no. There's been a lot of talk about shovel-ready, creating jobs. So we thought that we ought to see what people think. Should infrastructure projects that generate a greater number of jobs be favored for funding, even though they might not be the most urgent or produce the greatest long-term impact? 60% no, 40% yes. Is there an area of infrastructure repair that you believe demands a greater priority? 55% public transit. There is one subject that comes up more and more on the website: high-speed rail. It has clearly caught the attention of a significant number of people. Clearly, we are way behind. You can read all the reports about all these other countries, all these places with a fraction of our GNP and all that. The environmental movement talked about hugging trees. Okay? We need to hug something. We need to get the message out there. And I urge you, infrastructureusa.org, check it out, talk about it. But mostly, it's about engaging more citizens in this, which is one of the major issues of this generation, which we will face one way or another. Thank you.